set up here. And the whole idea of the aircraft carrier is a business that sets up, trains, and deploys others. You see, the ship itself normally just parks somewhere. And from that ship is sent out all of the airplanes that go into battle, that go and do reconnaissance missions, that do various activities in this war that they're involved in. And in business, you're involved in a war. And so the aircraft carrier is a picture of setting up training schools. It's a picture of setting MLM systems up where different people can come in and sell your product and run their own business as part of your bigger structure. It can be a business where you set up franchises, where you offer somebody else to set up a business under your name using your system. And so you're setting up and training people and expanding in the market in that way. And the returns are huge and the growth is phenomenal. But again, maintenance, administration, management of staff, this becomes a major part of your activity and of your involvement in this business. Now, before you start aiming for something this big, you need to have worked your way up from some of the smaller ones. But how wonderful when you can get to this place. And it's so easy to set up. For example, if you have started by setting up on the freelancing side, giving some of your knowledge, selling information products, and that's one of the greatest markets out there right now, especially on the internet. If you can build that up to develop your information product into a full training course, you can start moving into some of the bigger businesses, and you can even be having even set up your oil tanker where people are paying on a regular basis for your training courses, and then you can move beyond that to where you are now actually training people to go and set up their own training schools. And now you're getting into this bigger situation like the aircraft carrier. And before you know it, you have this huge organization that is spreading its wings everywhere. And then seventhly, we come to the ultimate business. And that is the ocean liner, the cruise ship. We often see them sailing past here. It looks like a huge, huge building floating in the water there. So many tiers and rows of windows of all the cabins that are on board the ship. It's a huge boat. And there are thousands of people that travel on these cruise ships. What is it a picture of? It's a picture of your large corporation, of your public company. This is the ultimate goal of every business person currently in the marketplace. The idea being that if you can build your business to the point where it is so successful and is doing that well that everybody would like to become part of it, you then set up what is known as an IPO, or an initial public offering, where you make your business available on the stock exchange to sell the shares in your business. And you can become a multimillionaire overnight. Overnight, as everybody rushes in to buy shares in this great big business, suddenly you are projected from being this reasonable sized business to being an international corporation, making millions or billions of dollars. The ultimate goal of wealth, it seems. Huge, fast accumulation of wealth. I mean, there's ways of making money fast, but can you imagine moving from a business where you float it as a public offering and people buy the shares, and suddenly you increase your wealth by $500 million in one day? That can happen very easily, and even greater than that, depending on the size of your company. But here's the disadvantage. The moment you do that, you lose control of this business. And again, you've seen a person who started up a business, built it up from scratch with blood, sweat, and tears, put his own stamp of approval or her stamp of approval on that business, until it became a household name. And then suddenly it goes out there and is bought by the public. and everything changes. And sometimes they consider you incapable of running their business, and they'll fire you. And you lose control of the business completely. You say, well, at least I got my money. Well, if that's all that you wanted, that's fine. Then sell the business and go and start another one. But here's the problem. Most people still retain a portion of that business because they want to still be actively involved in running and keeping that business going because it's their baby that they started from the beginning. But now you've got thousands of people shouting at you every time the business is not making enough money. The shareholders are wanting to know, why are the profits down this quarter? Why have you not made us money? We bought our shares, we gave you our money, we expect you to work for us now. Well, that sounds to me like you're back to working for a boss again. Except you haven't only got one boss, you've got thousands of them. And they're all putting their demands on you. And you see it in the whole economic recession and downturn. You see how people begin to complain. Well, I'm going to sell my shares and I'm going to take my business elsewhere. I'm going to take my money out of this company because you are not performing well enough for me. You, the board of directors, are doing a bad job. Well, they sit at home and do nothing because they gave you their money. And if you want to be a Christian business and you're selling your shares on the open market to unbelievers, you have lost control of your business and you can no longer run your business the way God intended you to run it. All of this simply so that you could make millions overnight. There's nothing wrong with having a big organization. But if we're going to do business God's way, I don't see this as being one of the types of business I ever want to go for. I don't ever want to have a public corporation. I want an international business with branches all over the world. But I'm remaining in control of that business. And I'll tell you why. Because my business belongs to the Lord. And my business belongs to the kingdom of God. And will feed the kingdom of God. And will always be controlled by the kingdom of God. And by the Lord himself as my senior partner. Don't ever allow yourself to lose control to the world for the sake of money. These then are 7 business boats. Business ships. Different kinds of businesses you can be involved in. And there's lots of variations among them. And as we continue in this course, I'd like to cover a lot more of the possibilities that are available to you. So now you've decided what kind of boat you're going to build. What kind of ship you're going to sail. You would just go ahead and launch. Now there's a few things you need to take into account. And I'm going to be covering all of these steps in a lot of detail as we continue. And I'm going to mention to you very carefully, very quickly, some of the things that you need to take into account. Firstly, you need to choose a market or a niche. A niche, as the Americans say. I'm of the old British persuasion that pronounces it niche. So niche or niche, whichever you prefer. What is a niche? A niche is a particular group. A particular kind of market that you're aiming for. Now, if you're just aiming for everybody, you've got a lot of competition out there. But if you're aiming for one particular group of people, one particular type of business, one particular realm of society or culture or whatever it is, that is a niche, and you can specialize and zero in on that particular group. And if you do that, there's going to be less competition because not everybody is aiming for that one little group. Then you need to choose a product range. You need to avoid competitive products that everybody else out there is selling. Because if you're selling something that everybody else out there is selling, I'll tell you what, unless your price is cheaper than everybody else, nobody's going to buy from you. So don't go for competitive products. And don't think that the more products I can sell, the better. You know, some of the wealthiest corporations, some of the wealthiest men and women in this world today sell 1 or 2 products. But they're so specialized in that niche and took the market on that kind of product that actually nobody even competes with them anymore. They virtually hold the market. And because they hold the market on that product, because they zeroed in on that product, built it well, sold it well, got a name for themselves, nobody will go and buy anywhere else, because that is the definitive standard. We find ourselves using trade names very often as the name of the product, where actually it's not. You just think of some of the products that you buy, some of the food products that you buy, and very often you won't even speak about what kind of product it is. You'll speak of the trade name, because it's that company that introduced that product in the beginning. And very often, even though somebody else has offered something else that's similar, you still stick to the original, because that's the real thing. Start off with a few products and build the market well. Yes, by all means, have lots of other products as well. Those are additional, if you like, the bread and butter sales. But your goal should be to take several products and specialize in those and make those your niche products. Keep the range small for your main products, and then have the extra products just for additional income. And then you need to choose where you're going to do business. Are you going to set up a shop front? Are you going to buy a building? Are you going to rent? Where exactly are you going to conduct business? Which country is it going to be in? Which state is it going to be in? All of these things are very important. You need to take all of this into account. Or are you going to go international? Are you going to set up your business purely on the internet and reach out to the whole world? Are you going to use the media? Are you going to advertise on TV? You're going to set up broadcasting. You're going to use radio. You're going to use newspapers. What media are you going to use? You're going to use direct mail. Where is your business going to be located? And so, once you've done that, you need to choose your selling procedures and your administration. Are you going to work on direct sales, where you're selling to specific individuals? Are you going to advertise like the big companies and try and create a market for your product by advertising it? Are you going to sell to end users, retail market? Or are you going to sell to the wholesale market, to people who will take your product and then resell it again? These are things you need to decide before you think about setting your boat up and launching it. And then, don't ever think you're going to run this business alone unless you're starting out just as a freelancer. You're going to need people to work with you. You're going to need staff. There's administration needed. There are sales activities that you can't carry out by yourself. So you must employ sales staff to do the sales. And the big disadvantage of sales, as any salesperson will tell you, is the paperwork that comes with it. You go out there and you spend quality time getting these awesome sales. And you went out and you spent 2 days, brought in a whole pile of wonderful sales, and then you have to spend the next 2 weeks doing all the paperwork that's involved in processing those sales. Your salespeople should not be tied down to admin. Your admin staff should be doing that, and your admin staff should not be having to go out and make sales, because that's not what they're good at. You need to set up a staff structure of each person who specializes in their realm, so that they can work together as a team. You need to think this through before you go launching your ship. And then you may think you've got this wonderful product. You may think everybody out there is dying to buy it. You may think that the niche you've chosen is just going to open their arms wide and say, give me more. It's called going off half-cocked. Get out there and you buy your equipment and you set up your business and you hire your staff and you buy everything that you need and you stock up on the products and you get yourself into debt and nobody buys. And you're stuck. You need to test your market and you need to do thorough research in the market before you go launching this boat. Test and make sure